senior government officials, permanent secretaries included, and including governors here present, representatives of civil society, academia, and the private sector, traditional and religious leaders, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. It's a profound honor and a moment of great pride as Governor of the West Coast region to welcome you to the second Gambia International Social Protection Conference. On behalf of the people of the region, the home of the Sada Jawara Conference Center, and the entire nation, I extend to you our warmest greetings and heartfelt hospitality. Let me begin by sincerely appreciating the leadership of His Excellency, the President of the Republic, Mr. Adam Barrow, for championing social protection as a national development priority. Through the office of the Vice President, His Excellency, the President of the Republic, and his government has shown the strong political will that is ultimately needed to build a sustainable system which requires a long-term political commitment to social justice, effective governance, and strategic fiscal management as demonstrated by this government. I also commend the National Social Protection Agency for its tireless efforts in coordinating this significant global platform. To the Executive Director, Mr. Mamadou Diba, and team, I can attest to the fact that your hard work and efforts are being felt directly or indirectly at the dinner table of every single family all over this country. This year's theme, investing in resilience towards long-term financing of social protection, goes to the heart of human development. It reminds us that social protection is not merely a policy choice. It's a moral imperative, an economic necessity, and a pillar of social justice. It is about ensuring and complementing government's efforts to ensure that every child is protected, that no child drops out of school due to poverty, every woman is empowered, and no woman is denied the opportunity due to inequality, and no family slips into despair in times of shock or crisis. It's about dignity, fairness, and shared prosperity. As a people, we are aware of the fact that affordability is often a question of priority. Financing basic social protection from GDP and some support from our development partners is the key to resilience. Social protection is increasingly recognized as a critical tool for climate adaptation in Africa and around the world, and managing economic shocks and rising vulnerability, leveraging climate finance, and designing systems that can automatically scale up during crisis are crucial for long-term resilience. These challenges test our systems. They also awaken our courage to innovative, collaborative, and transform. They remind us that development must be human-centered and inclusive, leaving no one behind, not the small rural farmer, not the struggling mother, not the elderly, not the person with disabilities, and neither the youth yearning for opportunity. Social protection builds resilience, is the foundation of peaceful and stable communities. It empowers people to lift themselves out of poverty with confidence and dignity. To achieve this, long-term and sustainable financing must be guaranteed not through short-term projects, but through strong institutions, national commitment, and strategic partnership. To the distinguished participants, this conference is more than a meeting. It is call to action. Over the coming days, let us build bridges between policy and practice, between government and people, between nations and development partners. Let us commit not only to discussions, but to solutions, the kind that change lives in homes, villages, and communities across the Gambia and the African continent. As the host region, we are honored to welcome such a distinguished gathering of teachers.
E.S. Jalo, Madam, good morning, and I want to recognize your presence, but also all the ministers here. I stand on existing protocol and thank you for coming here. Let me start by sending the warm greetings of His Excellency Aliu Umar Toure, the President of the ECOWAS Commission. The office has mandated me to be here on this very important conference. The second greetings I want to extend is of the Commissioner, Human Development and Social Affairs of the ECOWAS Commission, Professor Fatou Sosa, who has asked me, Madam, to extend her sincere appreciation to the Vice President of the Gambia and in turn to the President. 2 years ago, exactly in November, we were here as ECOWAS and we were hosted, we were received, and this was the place that ECOWAS adopted its social protection framework. The social protection framework was vetted in the Gambia, and we are so proud to be back 2 years after and seeing the Gambia championing social protection in our region. So thank you so much on behalf of the ECOWAS Commission. Let me just quickly go to my speech, the speech of the Commission. It is a privilege to address you today on a theme that resonates deeply with our shared vision, investing in resilience towards long-term financing of social protection. Across West Africa, we are witnessing the growing urgency to build systems that will not only respond to crises, but prevent them. Systems that protect, empower, and uplift. Social protection is the cornerstone of this resilience. It is not a temporary fix, but a long-term investment in human dignity, equity, and development. This conference, again, let me repeat, this conference aligns directly with the ECOWAS Social Protection Framework, which calls on member states to institutionalize inclusive, shock-responsive, and sustainable social protection system. Our framework emphasizes the need for predictable financing, integrated delivery mechanisms, and strong national ownership. This is what this conference represents. Today's dialogue, therefore, reinforces these pillars and brings us closer to our collective goal, a region where every citizen, regardless of status or circumstance, can live with security and hope. This is the commitment that the Gambia is showing by hosting this important conference. As a director of humanitarian and social affairs, I have seen how strategic investments in social protection can transform lives, from cash transfer that restore agency to nutrition and livelihood programs that rebuild communities. But these gains, as we've always, all of us at the national and regional level, emphasize that it must be scaled up and sustained. This requires long-term financing, political will, and regional solidarity. By this conference, you're seeing that these important points are encapsulated in this conference. Long-term financing, the political will, and of course, we as ECOWAS being here, showing the regional solidarity. Let me use this platform. Let us therefore use this platform not only to share knowledge. If you look at the agenda, it is rich. If you look at the agenda of the program, it is representative. If you look at the agenda of the program, the quality of those presenting reflects the quality of the dialogue that we will all have in these 3 days. It is also a call to mobilize.
It is with great pleasure that I deliver this statement on behalf of Mr. Franklin Mutahakana, who is unavoidably absent as he is currently traveling back from our annual meetings. It is a great pleasure to welcome government counterparts, development partners, and technical experts to this important conference on social protection in the Gambia. Over the past decade, the Gambia has made remarkable progress in laying the foundations of a strong and inclusive social protection system. With support from the World Bank and other partners, the country has built key systems and programs from the National Social Registry to the NAFA Safety Net Program and emerging economic inclusion initiatives. These efforts are helping to ensure that no Gambian is left behind, and the social protection becomes not just a safety net, but a cornerstone of national development. Social protection is, at its heart, about investing in people. It gives families the stability to meet their basic needs today and the confidence to plan and invest for tomorrow. It enables parents to keep children in school, support young people as they seek to enter the labor market, and helps workers recover from shocks without falling back into poverty. When designed well, social protection is a ladder of opportunity, helping households move from vulnerability to productivity and from dependency to empowerment. This is also why the World Bank sees social protection and jobs as two sides of the same coin. Together, they form the foundation of human capital and inclusive growth. Social protection systems help manage people and manage risks and transitions, whether it's from school to work, from informal to formal employment, or from crisis to recovery, while job creation expands the opportunities for everyone to participate meaningfully in the economy. Financing is, of course, central to making this vision a reality. Sustainable domestically financed social protection systems are what will allow the Gambia to move beyond fragmented projects towards an integrated, nationally owned framework, one capable of addressing chronic poverty, responding to shocks, and promoting shared prosperity over the long term. The World Bank is proud to be a partner on this journey, supporting the Gambia through financing, technical expertise, and policy dialogue to strengthen both social protection and the broader jobs agenda. Let us use this conference to reflect on the progress, identify gaps, and chart a path forward. Together, we can build a social protection system that is inclusive, adaptive, and fiscally sustainable. One that
and address this distinguished gathering at the second Gambian International Social Protection Conference. The theme, Investing in Resilience Towards Long-Term Financing of Social Protection, could not be more timely or crucial for the Gambia and the entire region. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, for us, social protection is not a luxury. It is a fundamental investment in human dignity and national prosperity. It is central to achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, particularly ending poverty, reducing inequality, and ensuring health and well-being for all. Through targeted social protection, we reach the most vulnerable, the poorest households, persons with disability, elderly citizens, women, and children who are often left furthest behind. When we invest in social protection, we do more than providing immediate relief. We create pathways to dignity and hope. We enable families to send their children to school, to access health care, to escape the cycle of poverty, and to build better futures. For the most vulnerable in our societies, social protection is often the difference between survival and opportunity, between despair and possibility. Social protection is critical to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It serves as a cross-cutting issue, an enabler that strengthens our collective efforts to eradicate poverty, reduce inequality, and build a more inclusive society. When social protection systems are in place and are well financed, they amplify progress across all dimensions of the sustainable development, from health and education to gender equality and economic opportunity. This is why the SDGs recognize social protection as essential. It ensures that development benefits are equally distributed and that our most vulnerable citizens have genuine pathways out of poverty and into dignity. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the government of the Gambia commitment to advancing this agenda is commendable. Through the National Social Protection Agency, the Gambia demonstrates its leadership in recognizing that sustainable development cannot be achieved without comprehensive, well-financed social protection frameworks. The United Nations Development System stands firmly in the Gambia in this endeavor. We recognize that long-term financing of social protection requires innovative approaches, partnerships, shared commitment, and collective action. This conference exemplifies once again that spirit is bringing together government, development partners, civil society, the private sector, the local governance, and technical expertise is crucial. As the UN, we remain committed to working closely with the government of the Gambia, our development partners, the civil society, and all stakeholders to advance this social protection agenda. We stand ready always to support with technical expertise, resources, and partnership as we build stronger, more inclusive social protection system that protects the most vulnerable and create lasting change. We urge everyone to translate our shared vision into concrete commitments, which we really hope that this conference will bring. Strengthening national systems, mobilizing sustainable resources, including domestic resources, and championing policies that build resilience from the ground up. Once again, on behalf of
in the front line to provide the relief, the safety nets for people to move. So, Madam, welcome to the ceremony. The UNFPA Country Director, and they will start representing the UNRC's office. SDG target 1.3, the health targets, are at the core of social protection. So we are happy always to have you together with us. Our regional community, Dr. Sintike from the ECOWAS Commission, I remember working closely with her when we were doing the Banjul framework on social protection. It was a pleasure to work for 1 week, and it was an honor for Gambia to have the framework signed and agreed here, led by the Vice President Mohamed B.S. Diallo, the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs and Gambians Abroad, and the Honorable Minister for Digital Economy. I'm sure in the agenda you will see that we have 2 presentations on how do we leverage digital technologies to reach more people. So it is extremely gratifying to have the Honorable Minister for Digital Economy be with us. This is the future of social protection. It is less costly, and then we can reach more people. And of course, my own friend, the Auditor General of the National Audit Office, Mr. Chernosov, I have the almost impossible task of saying what was achieved over the last 10 years in 15 minutes for social protection in the Gambia. But, Honorable Minister, allow me to say I have in the House the former Director of Social Welfare, who worked on the social protection policy at the time, Madam Fanta Bisek. She's there. I would really appreciate if you can stand for everyone to see you. They were the ones who worked on the policy, and as of now, we are doing a review, or we finished the review and work on the new policy. But when we validated it, we could hardly see much difference between what was in this policy and 5 other countries that we looked, including Seychelles, Mauritius, Kenya, and others. That was an excellent job. So, Madam Seka, thank you for leading it at the time. I also recognize the presence of the first National Coordinator for the Social Protection Secretariat, Mr. Ali Bara, who is also with us in the House. Mr. Bara, I don't know where you are hiding. So I present these 15 minutes of work that they started. Mr. Bara continued, and I actually ended it in over the last 3 years. So for the purpose of our high table, I probably focus mainly on what were we thinking and what actually happened. So we see how far we came as a country over the last 10 years, and where possibly we could go based on the speed at which we are going. So usually as a student of economics, we say where you are matters a lot, but the speed at which you are going is more important. You could be 10 kilometers away from me, but you are actually scrolling, and I am moving 10 kilometers an hour. I will actually get you. So the growth rate. So we will check how we are moving. That will possibly say where we will be in the next 10 years as we work on the next policy. Of course, the moderator introduced me. I am Momodu Diba, the Executive Director of the Social Protection Agency. So that's the outline of my presentation. I look at the priority areas, then what happened over the last 10 years, the status of social protection right now, the achievements and the challenges. Now, you would see these are the 5 priority areas, and hardly you go to any other country, and we did a literature review on this as we are developing the new policy, that you will not find any of these 5 areas. We looked at 5 different countries that are probably leaders in Africa, so that was a well-done job. Now, what I will do over the last 10 years, what happened to each of the priority areas, what we envisage. Now, what did we envisage 10 years ago. At the time, they said that we need to have leadership and coordination in the sector because an assessment which preceded the policy indicated that there were too many duplications, too many players, but they don't know what is happening. Then it was recommended that there should be leadership and coordination. So what we did is, you looked at the things that they said we should do. It's like if you are building a house, oh, we need a rod, we need cement, we need to establish a secretariat, we need to develop terms of reference, we need to set up support units. That was very basic at the time. 10 years later, a secretariat was established in 2019, of course, always happy to say with the support of the World Bank. Then the secretariat from 2019 moved into an agency based on a functional review by the Oxford Policy Management Consultancy. Of course, we moved from units to departments. We now have a full-fledged agency, not a secretariat, working with 2 functional departments. We also have a project management unit which can coordinate project interventions across sectors. As you know, social protection is cross-cutting. For example, the project that we have in our office is intervening in TVET, is intervening in education, is intervening in health. So some 10 years ago, we are developing terms of reference to recruit people. Today, we have a full-fledged agency, and then also we now have the leadership embedded in an Act of Parliament provided by the Office of the Vice President. So that's the progress on that priority area. Then for coverage and programs, they say, oh, we need to roll out and expand cash transfer programs. We need to map sector priorities to strengthen coordination and establish referral systems. We need formal and informal linkages. With the support again of the World Bank, the NAFA cash transfer was conceived and it was delivered. And I'm happy also to announce, Mr. Malang, I'm sorry for that, ahead of your presentation, that the NAFA is going to even expand it into other districts as we move on. So now we are not talking about introducing a cash transfer program. We are actually talking about consolidating and expanding a cash transfer program after some 10 years. Then, of course, this is still talking about the units to protect. So systems, we talk about systems. At the time, there was no data, if you like. There were no beneficiary data. There were no data on households. Then the policy said, okay, we need to put in the small pockets of data we have, if you like, call them beneficiary databases, and put them together in a management information system. But I think the government, of course, under the leadership of His Excellency, Mr. Adama Barrow, set up to disburse the rest, supporting a government cash transfer program. A government cash transfer program mainstreaming social protection in the national budget. As the representative from ECOWAS said, social protection needs to move from project-based to mainstream activities, and this is exactly what government is doing. We are starting slow, but eventually we will get there. Now, the social protection fund is mandated by law to provide funding to all the 5 priority areas of the policy, just to ensure that not a single priority area is left behind, basically moving in unison. Then the financing strategy is also developed, and we also embarked on an exercise which classified every budget line in the government budget as either social protection sensitive or not. Because if you do that, in case of programs, maybe with the IMF or with the World Bank, you can actually secure these budget lines not to be cut, because they go directly to the poor and vulnerable group. So yes, the pooled social protection funding, which was conceived some 10 years ago, is now in operational. And I think in 2026, we expect to see more money as we expand the government cash transfer program from 5,000 beneficiaries to potentially 15,000 with the support of the pool funding. There will be, of course, a technical discussion on this on the final day, but just to show how far it's been achieved. So in 2015, the vision was to transform. We set up a nationwide coverage of Gambia Social Registry. With the establishment of the Act of Parliament, it also called for a unified grievance redress mechanism housed at the National Social Protection Agency. The M&E framework is working, and we have a compendium of indicators for the sector, and then the Social Registry is able to provide support for any kind of program in the country. Now, what were the challenges? Of course, as a low-income country, fiscal space remains a challenge for the Gambia, just like many developing countries. But we commend the Ministry of Finance over the last 2 years for their support. I am hoping we continue on that challenge and we continue to discuss on other sustainable financing mechanisms so that we can increase the scope of the interventions. Of course, there is still no social protection for the informal sector, and I must announce here that we have been working with the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation on this endeavor. They've already developed a framework which is approved, and then we will be moving over the next 1 year, hopefully by 2027, to have some form of insurance products for the informal sector against job losses, accidents or injuries, because as you know, over 75% of our workforce is informal sector. So that remains a challenge, but I can see that significant steps have been taken in that with the Social Security and Finance Corporation. Now, some 10 years ago, we wanted to develop systems, to develop TORs, to set secretariat. So what do we want to do now over the next 10 years? We want to be able to have a child born in Paravini to be automatically updated in the social registry. We want a dynamic social registry that can update based on interoperating with the civil registry, the CRVS. We want a social registry that can interoperate with the ID card. I know if you check the program, you will see that we have a country case study on that from Nigeria. My good friend from Nigeria will be sharing their experience. So we are not looking ahead to setting the foundation of the building anymore. We are thinking of putting furniture inside to suit our need. So by 2035, in line with the long-term vision, we want to transform social protection to a modern, data-driven social protection. And these are, if you like, the main things that we are looking forward to. So on that note, for the presentation was mainly for the benefit of the high table.
Sector of expenditure financing that looks at the vulnerable segments of society, peoples and groups that have been identified as being less economically endowed as otherwise should have been. We know extremely poor households have difficulty in putting food on the table. They have difficulty in meeting their basic needs. So the cash transfer is meant to facilitate and smoothen the consumption of the poor households.
Social protection is cross-cutting. There are various actors that are involved in social protection. You talk about social welfare, you talk about health, you talk about education. That's why my role as Vice President and as the Minister responsible for social protection is to coordinate all of these efforts.
Back in 2013, basically an assessment was done to take the state of social protection in the country. So one of the fundamental findings was that there is lack of coordination, there is lack of leadership, there is duplication all over the sector. It was then recommended that government needed to have to set up an institution to coordinate the activities of the sector and also to provide leadership. Now, under the National Social Protection Policy, the leadership role is played by the Office of the Vice President, and the coordination on a day-to-day basis is provided by the National Social Protection Agency.
Today, the social protection coverage is very wide in the country, and diverse sections of the society are covered, where they are receiving cash transfer periodically from the social protection, either directly from the donors or from the social protection itself.
As of now, we have 100% coverage, the first in Africa to have 100% coverage. We can 100% target beneficiaries objectively using all the data. And of course, we can also work with the statistics agencies and other government agencies to provide evidence-based data analysis on social protection interventions across the country.
We take a cohort of households and before the cash transfer starts, and every year at the same time, we do an assessment on the same indicators to see whether there are changes over the period. We have seen that there is an increase in the food consumption score. Mainly the diet that the extremely poor households are consuming has improved in terms of quality, in terms of diversity. They are consuming diversified diet, which is important for improving their health.
This is very important. Just help us form living conditions of these people who are really vulnerable. And it has improved their life and their livelihoods by looking at incredibly empowered and thus alleviating poverty.
Another 3,000 or 3,000 or another one, not 500 or 500 or another one, he said, and she said, and no more than you go time with you. And Alhamdulillah, Yakaba. Yadra Poa, and I'm on 100%, 90% of people. Kakana, nothing of Purani, Milan Mandone, it is Bugala Baruka for Monk, like ya kafanya kutela kwa ruka uno sijana sikuru mu wale kan sijana siru aja mo mo ufale enda sipas pour ewan barka fayna ngara ka kanjale na ko atuba sijana.
We have seen the social impact. We've seen how the intervention in the social protection space have empowered communities to weather the shocks that we have seen.
These youths, you are giving them the opportunity to stay in their own backyards and get the skill set. Then they are busy. They don't have time now to cross the Mediterranean Sea that is now becoming an open cemetery.
The program, even though has inbuilt behavior change communication, but the coverage is a challenge. We're only covering extreme poor households, and we know that as a country, poverty is a challenge. And NAFA is meant to reduce poverty. If we reduce poverty, extreme poverty, we have to focus on reducing poverty in itself.
The Minister of Gender and Social Welfare is ready to work with the social program secretariat to come with another policy. We could reach out to more vulnerable people.
And has asked me to read his statement. Honorable Ministers, UN Resident Coordinator, ably represented here by UNFPA Country Rep, Head of UN agencies, the Governor of West Coast Region and other governors here present, the World Bank Resident Representative, the IMF Resident Rep, academia and researchers, civil society organizations, the media fraternity, senior government officials, representative of the ECOWAS Commission, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all other protocols duly and respectfully observed. Good morning to you all. I am honored and delighted to deliver this keynote statement on behalf of His Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia, Honorable Mohamed B.S. Jallow, at the second Gambia International Social Protection Conference, a platform that brings together policymakers, practitioners, researchers, and development partners to discuss how best to strengthen the collective commitment of building a more inclusive, equitable, and resilient society. This conference on the theme, Investing in Resilience Towards Long-Term Financing of Social Protection, is timely and significant. It comes at a moment when the Gambia, like many other countries, is navigating the complex social and economic challenges of our time, ranging from the lingering impacts of global shocks, climate change, and inequality, to demographic pressures and needs for sustainable livelihoods. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the 1997 Constitution, which enshrines equal rights for women, children, and persons with disabilities, and obliges the state under the directive principles of state policy to ensure just and equitable social opportunities for vulnerable groups in particular has been the anchor of government social protection. In addition, under the existing legal frameworks in the Gambia, there are various legislations that help to expand these protections. The Social Security Act 1981, amended in 2015, the Children's Act 2005, amended 2016, the Labor Act 2007, amended 2023, the Women's Act 2010, amended in 2015, domesticated conventions on the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women, and the Maputo Protocols mandating equity, social security benefits, protection from discrimination, and safeguard for elderly women and women with disabilities. The Person with Disability Act 2021 provides explicit rights to social protection, education, health, employment, accessibility, and non-discrimination. The National Health Insurance Act 2021, which introduces a national health insurance scheme to advance universal health coverage. However, following a legislative gap analysis, we have advanced efforts to establish an enabling legislative and institutional framework for social protection, one that will ensure predictability, accountability, and sustainability of interventions. Hence, the enactment of National Social Protection Act 2024. Among other things, the Act provides for the establishment of the National Social Protection Agency with the legal and regulatory mandate to coordinate social protection across government, development partners, NGOs, and so on, to improve synergy and reduce duplication. In our drive for sustainability and building more resilient households, the Act establishes a pool funding for social protection called the Social Protection Fund. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the government of the Gambia places social protection at the center of its national development agenda under the recovery-focused National Development Plan 2023-2027. We have identified human capital development, poverty reduction, and social inclusion as critical priorities for achieving long-term sustainable growth. We recognize that without a strong and inclusive social protection system, our national vision for prosperity and shared well-being cannot be realized. Over the years, significant progress has been made in establishing the foundation of a comprehensive social protection system. The formulation of the National Social Protection Policy 2015-2025, the establishment of the National Social Protection Secretariat, and the development of a National Social Registry. These initiatives have enhanced coordination, improved targeting of beneficiaries, and strengthening the government's capacity to respond to the needs of the most vulnerable. The following are not limited to where achieved under the implementation of existing policy. The first country in sub-Saharan Africa to reach 100% social registry coverage. Establishment and operationalization of the Social Protection Fund with a dedicated budget line, allowing for partner contributions to the fund as well in the legal framework. Over 16,000 households of basic income support as part of the NAFA program to help them smooth consumption and nutrition agency. Mainstream social protection directly into the government budget with over 5,000 beneficiaries receiving, including over 1,500 persons with disabilities, orphans, all persons, and widows, the first of its kind in the history of the Gambia. Moreover, as we look ahead, the ongoing revisions and development of the new social protection policy 2026-2036 will serve as a roadmap for the next decade, consolidating our gains and expanding coverage across all life stages. The government's commitment to leaving no one behind remains steadfast. We continue to collaborate with development partners, civil society, and communities to ensure that our social protection agenda reflects both national priorities and international best practices. Our vision is to build a system that not only provides safety nets in times of crisis, but also empowers citizens to participate fully in social and economic life. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, globally, the social development landscape is evolving rapidly. The United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and Africa Union's Agenda 2063 both underscore social protection as a cornerstone of inclusive growth and human dignity. In this regard, the government of the Gambia subscribes to the vision of shifting from reactive ad hoc responses to institutionalized, right-based social protection systems. Moreover, I am pleased to note that our partnership with organizations such as the World Bank, the African Development Bank, UN systems, and other key actors continue to support the strengthening of our national systems and delivery mechanisms. Together, we are working to ensure that every dollar invested in social protection contributes to building resilience, promoting equity, and fostering social cohesion. As we gather here over the next few days, let this conference serve as a catalyst for renewed collaboration and innovation. Let us continue to learn from one another, share good practices, and strengthen the links between policy, practice, and research. Ladies and gentlemen, the journey towards a robust and inclusive social protection system is both a national obligation and a moral imperative. It requires commitment, coordination, and above all, political will. Therefore, I wish to reaffirm the unwavering commitment of the government of the Gambia under the able leadership of His Excellency, Mr. Adama Barrow, President of the Republic of the Gambia, in advancing social protection as a key pillar of our development agenda. In closing, I wish to commend the National Social Protection Secretariat and all our partners for organizing this important conference. May your obligations or your deliberations be fulfilled and lead to actionable recommendations that will strengthen our collective resolve to ensure a Gambia where every citizen is protected, empowered, and afforded the opportunity to thrive. On behalf of His Excellency, the Vice President, I thank you for your kind attention.
So now we would have a group photo, and we would have that at the lobby, just at the entrance of the conference center, and then